Welcome to Stamp with Teah. I am Teah Woodward, an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up. I am located in Vancouver, Washington in the United States, and I am so happy to be here with you today. Welcome to World Card Making Day. What a wonderful event. Something that's near and dear to all of our hearts, and we have an entire day dedicated to it. And the bonus would be that along the way, we're probably learning a thing or two. So today, I am going to share with you a Christmas card that looks quilted. We just happen to have some of the perfect tools in our catalog that allow for me to be able to create this card. And it's just a section of a quilt. It's not made to look exactly like a full quilt. It's just a section. I really love this card. I made 3. I'm only demoing 1 because I have a short period of time. So because I have a short period of time, I'm going to get right to it, and I'm going to turn my camera down. So, and there it is. And I will pull that up closer. Let me get that snapped in nice and snug here. Well, and now you're getting to see some of my extra stuff off to one side. Well, sorry about that. Okay, so let me adjust just a couple of things and make sure we're good to go. I think we are. So here's the card that I'm going to make today. And as I bring that closer, can you see what looks like stitching all over it? Yep, that was made by one of our special die plates that we've got. And that's the inside of the card. So this is the card we're going to make today. We actually have some dies that cut out each of these shapes, and then I hand placed them and adhered them on the red cardstock, and then I ran it through this die that made these stitch lines. So I'm going to show you how to do all of that, and hopefully I'm going to do that in short order. So let's get started. So I'm going to start with the card front itself, and I just realized I don't have my there it is, my ruler, so that I can tell you exactly as I go. So I'm working with 3 5/8 by 4 5/8, and I've got some pre-cut shapes here that I'm going to use to create our quilt front. And I took these, first of all, I used the Beautiful Shapes dies. I used the second to the smallest, so this one here, to cut all of these out. And the paper that I used is from Painted Christmas. This is just one of the designer series papers that's in the stack. There's what the other side looks like. If you want to see what the rest of them look like, you can go to stampinup.com, type in Painted Christmas. The designer series papers will show up, and you can click through each of the screens to see all of the different designs. That's how I recommend to everybody that you do that. All right, so I'm just going to get started here. I'm going to start with my half layer. So I've got one that is off the page by half. So I'm eyeballing this. If you wanted to be more exact, you certainly could. This is how I am choosing to do it. Now I'm going to take 2 others, and I'm going to try to equally distance. And if it looks like I'm being a little fumbly, I broke my finger almost a week ago, and it makes it so that I'm just a little clumsy. Okay, so eyeballing what my distance between each of my pieces is going to look like. Now I'm going to adhere each one down, and there's a couple different ways you could, there's a couple different ways you could do this. You could use adhesive strips. Okay, so I'm not going to want that glue sitting there on my table. Like I said, I'm just a little clumsy with, I actually have a brace that I wear on this finger, but I've taken it off for this video and just taped this up really tight. And now I need to clean that off. So I'm just gonna do that, and as it dries it'll get sticky, and I've got an eraser that I'll use to pull up that sticky. All right, going to adhere this next one down. And so adhesive sheets would work well for this, but I like, because I'm not measuring anything out and I'm eyeballing it, I like the ability to shimmy things into place. So that's my personal preference. And try to get some of my greenery going in different directions. This was a directional print, and I made the decision to go ahead and take a chance with it anyway. And I think it turned out well. I think the sample turned out really well. All right. So now I just have to place 6 more of these. Let's see, I don't like that one. There we go. So what are some of the things that I can tell you about quilting? There is an actual culture behind quilting. Quilting teaches you to be patient and to take your time. And the unhurried nature of the craft is one of its appeals. It actually, sorry, trying to get this in place. Okay, there we go. There we go. It's kind of like meditation. That's one of the appeals for people to this particular type of craft, because they're calculating, they're doing math, they are they're concentrating on their stitches, getting things even, and so it becomes a type of meditation. So that's one of the appeals of quilting. One of the other, okay, I'm getting messy here. You know, I made my samples, but I didn't practice talking while I made my samples. That might be why I'm running into a problem. So quilting keeps your mind strong. Excuse me. Because of the concentrating. The concentration also, and the repetitive movements also help people to, I dropped a piece. There we go. Helps keep people's minds strong. So it's kind of like a mental exercise. So there's all kinds of beautiful benefits to quilting. My sister is a quilter. I am not. I do sew. And I mean, when you think about paper crafting, there's a certain amount of similar aspects to it, right? So I would say I'm getting many of the same benefits, if not the exact same. What else can I tell you? Some quilts were created as a means of stretching resources. You know, when times were tough, when materials weren't available, and maybe old clothes had to be used to be cut up and sewn into blankets for warmth. Did I just do that wrong? Oh, I think I did it right. One of the resources that I was looking up information about quilting said that quilting is a symbol of blending different cultural traditions: European, African American, American Indian, as well as others. Each tradition borrows from and contributes to this art form in a continuing evolution. So I thought that was pretty cool. Here we go. And for these corner pieces, I'm going to put my adhesive. So you see, I'm just eyeballing this. And if something's not exactly right, it might be where I'm going to put a sentiment or the branches, or, I mean, it's okay. I don't have to be, well, I mean, I bet true quilters would strike me down for saying this, but it doesn't have to be exact. On this card, it doesn't need to be exact. Let's say that. How's that safe? My sister makes beautiful quilts. I love them. The ones she made me sits on the back of my sofa year round. Excuse me. It's a I think she called it a crazy patch, or a, anyway, it's real irregular sized pieces. But it was done in such a way that it looks very calculated. Let's see. That's about as good as I'm going to be able to do there. When I am done adhering these, I'm going to look for any shiny spots where adhesive might be showing through. And I have an eraser for removing that. And then I'm going to cut off this excess off of the edges. So I have a couple of little thicker spots, but I think in general that's going to be fine. Now, what I use for taking off the extra adhesive, if there is any, like I said, with my finger in its current condition, I'm just a little clumsy, so I know that I'm making some squishy mistakes. I've got a rubber eraser, and that rubber eraser just picks the adhesive right up. So any place that I see a little bit of shine, I can use my rubber eraser and pick up that adhesive. And I'm going to have to use it on my desk right here where I turned that piece right upside down, huh? It just balls the glue right up. Okay, and I thought I saw, yep, right here. And there we go. That's pretty good right there. So now I'm going to take this, there we go. Do as I say, not as I do. I'm going to turn this over, and I'm going to use a pair of old scissors, not my good paper snips, and I'm going to cut off the excess and just follow right along the cardstock. I really never realized, I should have realized, but didn't, just how much you use that finger, even to balance different activities out with your hands. So like take my pick tool or a pair of scissors. I guess I didn't grab a very good pair of scissors here. Almost done. And when I turn this over, you'll see how beautiful this is. All right, get those out of the way. Flip that over and look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? Now what I'm going to use is the stitched greenery die. Look at that. You can see it looks just like stitches. Oops. So old quilts used to be tied at the intersecting points. More modern quilts are run through a machine, and this like embroidery, or I don't think it's called embroidery, I think it's actually stitching, is done to hold all of the layers together, which keeps the layers from shifting apart. I'm using this just for aesthetic purposes. So I'm going to run this through my cut and emboss machine, which is just here to one side. So here it is, and it being glommed on here has nothing to do with adhesive. It has everything to do with those tight little stitches that are in there. So I'm being careful to pull that off. There we go. And I'm going to pull this up close so that you can see. Can you see the stitch lines in there? Isn't that beautiful? Okay, I do feel a little bit of adhesive right there. Actually, it's in a few places. So when I ran that through the machine, evidently any glue that wasn't adhered or wasn't dry yet squished out. So I am just going to use this rubber eraser to, some of this glue is still wet. So I am going to, there we go. I see it balling up now. And over here, that doesn't feel dry yet. I'm going to let that dry. So while that's drying, I'm going to pull over my card base, which is 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. This is going to be a top fold card. I'm going to grab my bone folder. So quilts are often made as a symbol of love. Sometimes it's when somebody is ill and maybe a lengthy illness. And a quilter is able to provide what feels like a hug. That quilt can very much feel not just provide warmth, but actual love and comfort. So that's a beautiful thing about quilts, is they can really mean some beautiful things. I am going to adhere this embossed piece to this matte layer. That's not quite dry enough yet. And no matter what the reason for giving a quilt, quilts are a labor of love. They are somewhat labor intensive, whether they're a lap quilt or a full bed quilt. Sometimes they're given as wedding gifts or baby gifts. or like I said, when somebody is ill, or when somebody's aging. Turn that over and give that a nice little squish and hold that into place. And I'm going to try to remove just a little bit more of this adhesive. Don't want to take up all my video time removing adhesive, but this is the time that I have. So taking that off. Just keeping it real. I know I'm not the only person to have ever made a mess with glue. Here we go. Just rolling it right off. See, it's just coming off in little rolls. And just a little bit more. I got a little too zealous in running it through the machine. Well, I probably had too much adhesive behind the paper, to be honest. And sometimes it's not just about learning a technique, right? Sometimes it's learning about being able to how to fix a mistake. All right, I'm going to attach this to the front of my card using dimensionals. So just raising it up just a little bit. Here we go. Normally I use my take your pick tool to take these off, take the backs off, but I'm not able to hold it very well with my finger like this. So because you do kind of balance the take your pick tool on that middle finger and use kind of a flicking motion to take those backs off, and I am not able to do that. All right, one more, there we go. I am going to put this lovely, lovely, lovely card front right here in the center, centering top to bottom and side to side. As that dries, it will lift right off with this rubber eraser. You know, it's a brand new bottle of adhesive, and this card was the first time I used it. The bottle I was using for my sample card was just about completely empty, and I didn't want to take a chance of running out during the video. All right, I have already stamped and die cut my sentiment, which is going to go right here. I have already die cut my greenery. Get a fresh pair of scissors here. So I'm going to attach my, no I'm not, I am going to use my scissors to cut apart my little fur bows. This is going to be it. I'm going to use a mini glue dot to adhere that down. And there we go. Oops, you're seeing the back there. You can see it took me a couple times. All right. So I'm going to use a couple of mini glue dots. I'm actually going to use 3. I'm not worried about them showing because I have some layering going on top of them. I'm going to set that right there. I'm going to apply some, so this is the back, not my front. I'm going to put some dimensionals there on the back. And this print, just beautiful. I think it's stunning. So I've used real red cardstock to put the print on, and then I've matted with Evening Evergreen. My sentiment is stamped in Evening Evergreen. Put that on there. Going to use another mini glue dot. I'm only worried about putting it towards the bottom on this one because it's going to be on top of my sentiment there. I have one more little piece here that I'm going to go ahead and get tucked in there as well. And those ends are going to be hidden by a bow. Let's see. There we go. And then I've already pre-tied my bow. So this ribbon is from the holiday catalog. This is part of a 2-pack. This is Real Red and it comes with Garden Green, and it's called Real Red and Garden Green Festive Ribbon, I think. Oh, and I forgot to tell you that I pulled my sentiment here from Brightest Glow. And the tag or the label die that I used came from the coordinating bundle. So I'm going to put my mini glue dot on the back here, and then we still have to decorate the inside of this card. I'm going to put that bow right there, just like that. I didn't use embellishments. I didn't use any gems on this card because I didn't want to hide any of that stitch work or patchwork look. I didn't want to detract from that. Put my mini glue dots to one side. Going to stamp the sentiment that's going to go on the inside of the card. Love the sentiment. So this, the greeting that's on the inside also came from Brightest Glow. And I did cut a couple pieces just in case I didn't stamp straight. Hopefully I do. And not bad. I'll take it. Close up that ink. Again, this was stamped in the Evening Evergreen. Now I have 2 little pieces of Designer Series paper that I'm going to put on each side of the message liner. Okay, come on. So I'm going to do these one at a time. And I like to leave just barely an edge of that white message liner showing underneath. It just kind of frames that Designer Series paper just a little bit, even though I'm going to put a matte layer underneath this. And one more over here. I think I'm going to turn it the other direction. So if you know somebody that is a quilter, it might be nice to make one Christmas card that's different than the rest of your Christmas cards. I wouldn't unless you don't have to make a ton, like I have to make, well, about 150 cards. So I wouldn't choose to make one of these cards for the masses because it is a bit more time consuming. But if you have a special friend or relative that is a quilter, you might want to make just one that's different than all the rest. Just sliding that over a little bit. Now I'm going to put this on the mat layer. And when I'm done putting this card together, then I have two other samples to show you. So this mat layer is 3 3/4 by 5 inches, and the white layer is 3 1/2 by 4 3/4 inches. Almost done. There we go. Is that looking mostly straight? So here are the cards. It looks like, I'm not sure why, but it looks like this one has a little less matte color showing. This one has a little more. And then our inside card, inside of our card. So that is that's what I'm demonstrating. I've got two other cards to show you. So here is this one. And I have taken, oh my gosh, I forgot to write down the name of the paper. It's the paper from the Kindest Gnomes collection in the mini catalog. Anyway, that's where I got both of these papers from. And so this one, so this card was a print on solid cardstock. This one is a print on print. And I used vellum to cut the snowflakes from the, I've got a cheat note here, Season of Chic collection, or Season of Chic bundle. That's where the dies were that I got from here. I liked this particular little string. This is our baker's twine, because it really kind of reminded me of what used to be used for tying off quilts. And for this one, I used an embossing folder for the texture and the design versus that stitched greenery die. So there's that one. And I have one more, and that is this Hello Baby card. So this is from the Happier Than Happy collection. So I used the stitched greenery on this one as well. And I didn't show you the inside of this card. So friends, I hope that you are having a wonderful World Card Making Day. I hope I've inspired you to try your hand at mixing up some of your collections and maybe creating something that looks like a quilt. I appreciate you. Have a wonderful day. Biggest of hugs. Stay safe and be well.